You are right in the middle of a screaming match. Voices are piercing the air. Your chest is tight, and you are desperately throwing out words just to get through to them. And then, nothing. They completely shut down. A heavy, suffocating wall of silence drops between you. They cross their arms, stare at the floor, or look right through you with completely blank eyes. The fight is over, but the agony is just beginning. If you're the one left talking, it feels like a physical punch to the gut. You feel discarded, invisible, and completely abandoned. You want to scream at them to just say something, anything. But if you are the one who just went cold, you are drowning in a completely invisible war. Inside your head, you might be screaming for help, but your throat is totally dry. The words are trapped behind your teeth. Your mind has completely checked out because staying in that room feels terrifying, impossible, or utterly pointless. We are conditioned to look at someone's silence and call it weakness, cold indifference, or a petty, manipulative game. But human psychology is rarely that simple. When someone retreats into the quiet during a brutal argument, it isn't because they don't have a response. The silence is the response. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on one of the most painful, misunderstood habits in human relationships, stripping away the myths to see what happens when the mind goes completely dark. Before we can look at what this quiet actually means, we have to burn down the lies we've been told about it. There are 3 massive misconceptions that completely poison our connections. The first lie is that staying quiet equals surrender. Our world rewards the loudest voice, the sharpest wit, the person who can weaponize words the fastest. We think the person who stops talking is the one who lost. That is a mistake. True silence often takes an agonizing amount of restraint. A deep, heavy processing of pain or immense emotional discipline. It is anything but weak. The second lie is that their lack of words means they just don't care. This is the thought that keeps you awake at 3 a.m., believing they shut down because you don't matter to them. But the reality is usually the exact opposite. People go quiet because the emotional stakes are paralyzing. They aren't indifferent. They are terrified of their own capacity to do irreparable damage if they open their mouth. They choose to look cold rather than let their burning anger destroy everything. The third and most destructive lie is that every silence is a malicious power play. We immediately label it as a toxic tool used to punish, control, and inflict emotional pain. And while that dark side absolutely exists, it is deeply unfair to assume every quiet moment is an attack. For millions of people, shutting down isn't something they do to you. It's a defensive trap they are stuck in. It's a reflex, a complex human instinct that ranges from a total system crash to a brilliant, strategic move. To understand the person, you have to understand the specific wall they are hiding behind. Let's dig beneath the surface. When someone habitually disappears during a conflict, they are being driven by powerful psychological forces. The first is emotional flooding, a literal, biological hijacking of the body. The fight starts, and your brain senses an immediate threat. It's not a predator in the wild. It's the sharp tone of your partner's voice, a critical look, or the crushing feeling of being misunderstood. Your amygdala, the brain's ancient panic button, starts screaming. Instantly, your system is flooded with cortisol and adrenaline. Your heart rate rockets past 100 beats per minute. Blood drains from your rational brain and rushes to your limbs, preparing your body to fight or run. But you can't physically attack the person you love, and you can't just run out the front door. So your brain hits a forgotten survival switch. Freeze. Your throat locks. Your mind goes entirely blank. It's a total neurological shutdown. In this state, the parts of your brain that string sentences together are completely offline. You aren't choosing to ignore them. You physically cannot speak. You are paralyzed, waiting for the perceived danger to pass. The second driver is rooted in old, unhealed trauma, a learned response from childhood. Imagine growing up in a house where disagreements were chaotic, frightening explosions. Raised voices, slamming doors, and days of icy emotional fallout. As a little kid in that environment, you quickly figured out how to stay safe. You learned that having an opinion or expressing a need wasn't allowed. Speaking up meant getting hurt. So, you learned to become a ghost. You made yourself invisible. You learned that being dead quiet kept you protected. But there is a darker layer to this childhood inheritance, a hidden loop called the intergenerational echo. As a kid, you might have watched your parents torture each other with cold shoulders, swearing you'd never be like them. Yet here you are. Decades later, you're an adult sitting across from your partner. They raise their voice just a tiny bit. To them, it's just emphasis. But to your nervous system, it's a terrifying time machine. You aren't a grown adult anymore. You are a helpless child, copy-pasting the exact emotional shutoff you inherited. The retreat into quiet isn't just a scar. It's an ancestral reflex. They aren't just avoiding you. They are repeating history. The third driver isn't about dread. It's just cognitive wiring and introverted processing. Extroverts think out loud. They figure out what they mean by talking through the chaos in real time. But introverts process deeply from the inside. When a heavy, emotional accusation gets thrown at them, their brain doesn't just spit out a quick comeback. It retreats into the deep dark to analyze the data, map out the emotions, and try to translate a massive internal world into spoken words. This takes an incredible amount of mental energy and time. But in the middle of a fast-paced, high-volume argument with an external processor, the demands come too fast. Say something. Answer me. It causes an absolute logjam in their mind. They go silent not because they are empty, but because the cognitive traffic is moving too fast under pressure. The silence is a desperate plea for a timeout to craft an honest, meaningful response, but it's almost always misinterpreted as cold rejection. But we have to look at an uncomfortable truth, a fourth driver that no one wants to admit about themselves. Sometimes, silence is driven by quiet narcissism. It is the hidden ego of the quiet partner. While the other person is screaming, crying, and desperately making a mess trying to connect, the silent partner retreats to a mental throne of moral superiority. Inside their head, a toxic inner monologue is running. Look at them. They are so chaotic. They are losing control. I am the mature one here. I am above this. This isn't a panic attack. It's a profound sense of psychological elitism. They use their calm as a shield to completely evade accountability, treating the other person's raw emotion as a flaw while branding their own withdrawal as maturity. It is a quiet, devastating way of saying, "You are too beneath me to answer." Then comes the fifth driver, the heavy weight of perceived futility. This is the silence of absolute resignation, learned entirely within the relationship itself. It happens when someone realizes that no matter what they say, they will be dismissed, bulldozed, or gaslit into believing they are crazy. In the beginning, they fought for you. They cried, they screamed, they begged you to understand. But every single time, their reality was twisted back on them. Eventually, a tragic switch flips in the human mind. They realize, my words don't matter. Nothing I say changes anything. Speaking up only creates more agony. So, why bother? This silence is learned helplessness. The exact moment someone emotionally checks out, not just from the fight, but from the relationship entirely. It's a desperate attempt to conserve whatever energy they have left, a shield against the absolute, soul-crushing exhaustion of trying to be heard by someone who won't listen. But there is a final driver, a highly conscious, strategic silence born from immense emotional intelligence This isn't a panicked reaction or an ego trip. It's a masterful boundary. A person with high EQ knows an absolute rule of psychology. You cannot reason with a flooded, hysterical brain. Trying to use logic against someone screaming in pure anger is like throwing dry kindling onto a roaring fire. It solves nothing. So, they choose to be still. This isn't an empty absence. It's an active, heavy presence. They stay right there, they hold eye contact, and they listen, using their calm silence to send an unspoken message. I am not your enemy. I will not get dragged into this quicksand with you. I am waiting for your rational brain to come back online. This de-escalates the room by starving the anger of fuel. It prevents them from saying vicious words they can never take back. And it models a profound, disciplined strength. It is emotional mastery in its purest form. We've just torn open the hidden reasons behind the quiet, from a helpless biological freeze to a high EQ power move. You probably saw your own reflection, or the face of someone you love, in those descriptions. If this psychological breakdown is shedding light on your own hidden patterns, take a brief moment to hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We unpack the raw truths of human behavior like this every single week. Join us. But to be completely honest, we have to look directly at the dark side. The toxic weapon known as the silent treatment. It is fundamentally different from everything else we've broken down because of one thing: intent. A person who is flooded, traumatized, or overwhelmed is silent because they are bleeding. A person using the silent treatment is silent to make you bleed. It is a calculated, cruel act of passive aggression designed to punish, manipulate, and control. The goal is to make you feel so anxious, so invisible, and so completely desperate for connection that you will swallow your own dignity, apologize for things you didn't even do, and beg for their forgiveness. It turns love into a currency that can be withheld to force submission. It is cold. It is dismissive, and it is a deeply insidious form of emotional abuse. It isn't a shield to protect themselves. It is a blade used to cut you down to size. Recognizing the truth is only the first step. The real battle is breaking the cycle. But the traditional advice is wrong. We are told to run away, to take a 20-minute break, go to separate rooms, splash cold water, and self-regulate. But that is an illusion. Forcing an unhealed, traumatized mind to go isolate in a dark corner isn't healing. It's just activating a lonely survival mode. True healing doesn't happen in isolation. It happens in co-regulation. If you are the one who shuts down, your nervous system cannot heal by hiding in a bathroom. You need to learn to look at your partner while your heart is still racing. Drop the shield and use a simple scripted phrase. My brain is overloading and I am terrified right now. I want to fix this, but I need you to hold my hand while I calm down. Yeah, you have to bridge the gap while the fire is still hot, transforming the quiet from a lonely exile into a shared sanctuary. If you are the person standing on the outside of that wall, you have to stop the chase. Your desperate instinct is to hunt them down, to scream at them to look at you, to demand they talk. But to their terrified, overloaded brain, you look exactly like a predator cornering its prey. You are making it infinitely worse. Instead, force your own body to de-escalate. Lower your voice, soften your hands. Take a slow, visible breath and sit down. Non-verbally prove to them that you are safe. Then offer them the space with a built-in promise. Tell them, I can see this is getting way too heavy. Let's take 15 minutes to cool down, and then we'll figure this out together. You validate their pain, you lift the suffocating pressure, and you give them a safe bridge to walk back to you. Silence is never just empty space. It is a room packed with hidden meaning. It might be filled with the deafening static of an overloaded nervous system, the terrifying ghosts of childhood trauma, the slow, careful assembly of a deep mind, or the heavy, broken weight of giving up. Or it might be the quiet, disciplined wisdom of someone who loves you too much to hurt you. In a loud world that prizes quick comebacks and noisy victories, we have completely forgotten how to decode the quiet. We forget to trade our anger for curiosity. Understanding why someone goes quiet is the only way to stop attacking the symptom and finally reach the human being hiding behind it. The goal was never to win the argument anyway. The goal is to build a relationship so safe that the silence isn't needed anymore. But this story belongs to you now. Which of these hidden drivers hit closest to home? In a conflict, do you tend to hide behind the wall, or are you the one trying to tear it down? Drop your story and your perspective in the comments below. Your words might be the exact lifeline someone else needs to read today. Let's figure this out together.